Hey guys, and welcome to a fiery showdown between two rather scary competitive tournament players, and this was taken in the Warhammer World Championship event, and it is between the legendary Stormrunner up against the insane madman that is the Exploding Hamster. Not only a fantastic player, but also a fantastic YouTube content creator, so if any of you do speak German, make sure you go and check out Exploding Hamster, a veteran in the game. Should be a fun showdown. It is between Chaos as well as the Empire. We're actually going to have to pause this battle off the rip, as it looks like there's going to be a rather unfortunate engagement for some Chaos Warhounds who are trapped at the moment in the trees behind enemy territory. Apart from that, in the Forces of Evil, we have Chaos Marauders dotted all the way along, cheap, cheerful, happy to be here, and ready for a good scrap. But the secondary battle line is far, far more elite. We have double Forsaken. These guys will tear through enemy state troops with deadly efficiency, but are a little bit clumsy, and only 85 armor means they can be picked apart by enemy skirmishers and gunfire. In the central portion, we have Chosen with Halberds. You don't often get to see the halberdier-wielding Chaos badasses, but today we are going to be treated to seeing them in action. Very good against all large threats, of course, and leading them is going to be Prince Sigvald the Magnificent, the tankiest of tanky lords, and he certainly fits in well here with the Chosen. He's going to be coming in, of course, with his auric armor, giving him that extra regeneration. He has Slippery, as well as Heroic Killing Blow, and Stand or Die. Just behind him, we do have some Chaos Warhounds with Poison, who are going to be escorting Double Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, as well as tuners of Chaos Knights with lances. Don't get to see these guys terribly often, but the lance variety is definitely my favourite of all the Chaos Knights, and they're going to be led by Chaos Sorcerer of Metal. Looks like he has Searing Doom, Plague Rust, and Final Transmutation. Pretty fun rush build from the Force of Chaos on Alpine Ridge here as well. You can certainly close the gap rather easily on your enemy without them spotting it too much. To try and cancel this, the Empire is deployed on the right-hand side, looking to actually ignore the mountain and go whip around to this right-hand flank, and it's a rather interesting build. We have a ton of cheap and cheerful spearmen just died throughout, happy to be here and fight in the name of Sigma, and we have a insane amount of skirmish and cavalry. So we have double pistoliers over here, in fact double pistoliers, and then we have outriders with grenade launchers, more outriders, more grenade launchers, as well as the Royal Altdorf Griffites, regiment of renowned Demigryph Knights, one of the scariest units in the entire game, looking rather regal there in their lovely greyish blue colour scheme. Up in the skies, we have the mighty Karl Franz, the Lord himself. He's a scary combatant for sure, coming in with Garbaraz as well as Reichon Runefang, dual wielding like an absolute god. We have a Jade Wizard down here of Regrowth, Earthblood. It looks like he's coming with Blast as well as a Power Stone. And in the distance, we have some more Empire Knights just hidden in the trees to try and catch out any enemy skirmishers. And speaking of catching out enemy skirmishers, here we have some Chaos Warhounds with Poison who are going to unfortunately get absolutely destroyed by the Royal Altdorf Griffites. This is a walk in the park for them. They're going to take pretty much no damage. It looks like actually no damage whatsoever before they break the Chaos Warhounds, terrify them, and force them off the field. And it looks like now it's going to be a kind of way back in the game, of course, for the Chaos now. It's only one unit of Warhounds, so it's not the end of the day, but it's always bad when you've got any type of gold just kind of given away for free, especially at the start. So we're going to have to see how the Chaos do counter this. And it looks like they are going to be taking the high ground, making Obi-Wan Kenobi as proud as physically possible. And it's not too bad an idea to take the high ground, even if your opponent does concede it, I suppose, early on, because you can still swoop around this side, try and pin him up against the edge of the board, because he is very close to at the moment, although these are all kind of fast-moving skirmishers who are just whipping around where possible. Chaos Warhounds with Poison do look to go up toe-to-toe with the Pistoliers, and if, of course, they get those jaws kind of locked around the heels of the horses, they do some very good work, but it looks like Stormrunner knows how pivotal these guys are going to be and tries to pull them away. There's simply too much firepower at the moment in the central portion, too much heat for them really to engage. Outriders, though, with grenade launchers are push up, and they're going to decimate these Chaos Marauders. Outriders with grenade launchers are one of the most underrated units in the entire Empire roster. They do insane damage if they are allowed to fire. They are rather hard, however, to get them firing consistently through the course of the whole battle. They do not have 360 line of sight. Chaos Warhounds are terrified and forced back at this point. Karl Franz is then going to trot over onto the horseman with thrown axes. Needs to be a little bit careful though. He is rather squishy and he's very far away from any healing. So it looks like he's going to take the initial win before pulling back with the rest of his troops. So far expertly done in the skirmish phase by the forces of the Empire. It looks like the Royal Altdorf Griffites as well as the Empire Knights going to crash forward with a thunderous charge into the Marauders, and it's free value. The Marauders aren't going to be able to do too much damage back, and the rest of the Chaos build is kind of lagging behind slightly. as Marauders and Forsaken do get hit there by the grenade launchers. But this is where it gets a little bit messy. Yes, the Empire forces can try and kite for as long as possible and fall back, but Forsaken are relatively speedy across the ground despite their armor and oversized limbs, and they're going to chew through the spearmen really, really quickly. It looks like some grenade launchers are trying to loop shots up and over and focus down the Forsaken, which certainly isn't a bad idea at all. Roll out of Gryphites do get hit by an overcast Plague of Rust, lowering their armor by 60 there, and in come the Chaos Knights with Lancers charging downhill as well. This is very bad news. The Aldorf Gryphites have been hit by an Earthblood, Stand Your Ground, and Regrowth. There's a ton of magic having to come in. Hugely key engagement at this point as Karl Franz also darts in. It looks like there are some horsemen with thrown axes launching shots in from long range, and a ton of the Pelistiliers have now been forced off after committing to combat in a desperate battle in the centre. And the Knights are stacked upon Chosen with Halberds, which is really scary. Roll out of Gryphites are going to pull back pretty much full health due to the insane amount of winds of magic that was just poured into them. However, the Empire Knights have been dealt a killing blow. Karl Franz swooping around the battlefield though, doing some glorious work. In the distance, Chaos Marauders, of course, will be chewing through Spearmen, as well as the Forsaken, doing a pretty decent job. And you can see the Outrides have been forced back into the woods. And look who's back. Yes, it is the Hounds. 2 Trailer Park Hounds do go round the outside of the forces and start hunting down these Pestilers, who are now routing. They're so close to the board edge, they're getting in the way of their own troops and being forced off the battlefield at the same time. Horsemen getting really aggressive is what I like to see. Attack orders are on. Forcing back the Outriders, shooting them from the back as well as they do go. Empire Knights looking pretty tasty at the moment, hunting down the Royal Outdorf Gryphites, simply swarming them with greater numbers. And if the Outdorf Gryphites do break here, they will be escorted off the battlefield. Even the Chaos Sorcerer of Metal is getting in there to give a lick or two. Halberds are slowly trying to push up, and it looks like they've got a lovely surround here so far. It looks like Prince Sigvald the Magnificent not doing too bad a job. He's just going to be carving up some spearmen. I'm sure he's very angry with their blood getting over his glorious armour. And in the distance, Karl Franz has had to be sacrificed and pulled back away from the main fight where he's really needed to try and save the Outrider Corps. And it's a good move all round by Exploding Hamster. I think it's absolutely necessary, although despite this, Warhounds are going to be able to force off another unit of Outriders, which is pretty scary, although the Hounds are finally gone themselves, as well as this unit of thrown axes. And now the battlefield control may once again go back in favour of the Empire, as it looks like the Outriders have managed to club some Marauders on the flank, and with the extra speed they do have, maybe they'll be able to whittle down the Chosen and these Knights, who have so far done an absolutely fantastic job. Empire Knights did return to the fray, only to be hit by a Plague of Rust, and our Chaos Knights, who are far more fearsome, brutal, and have much cooler pointy sticks, are going to force them back, and it looks like they have been slaughtered pretty much to the last man. Looks like there's 6 left fighting. These guys, yeah, there they go. They get absolutely shattered. Grenades are coming in, or at least shots from the Outriders now, trying to pour into the Knights, which of course is a good idea, and get those grenades on the Chosen. They should be able to do some pretty decent damage. Now, Chosen do come with 120 armor, which will be able to negate at least some of the damage, but there is 2 units with decent ammunition left on the grenade launcher's side. And let's have a little stock of overall battlefield so far. So some Marauders on this left-hand side who are probably going to get chewed on by the mighty Karl Franz. Apart from that, it's just this big central pocket. Chaos Knights mixed in with the Chosen. Both the heroes are still alive, and there is a unit of Forsaken trotting out to the left-hand side. Prince Sigvald is pretty much full health at the moment. The Empire is trying to use their mobility to their advantage, finishing off some Chaos Marauders on the right. But their spearmen are currently fleeing from the Prince, realising they're not going to be able to escape because of that slippery buff that has been popped. They are going to turn and engage, try and get any damage possible. Over here, the Marauders not having a good day whatsoever. Karl Franz is not the type of man to lay down and take a loss. He's simply going to be scrapping it to the end, and is now going to be getting a lovely charge into the Chaos Knights, but he is surrounded now by rather scary foes. If the Plague of Rust can come down on him once more, he's going to be in big trouble as Prince Sigvald charges gloriously. Gets a lovely little slap to the bum there of Deathclaw, who is desperately trying to hop on top of the Knights because they're simply dancing around the battlefield at the moment, feasting on the souls of these poor Empire state troops. Forsaken have caught up. The Chosen are deciding to kind of swagger forward and saunter rather than charge themselves. They're just jogging over, and it looks like there is a duel of the ages. Karl Franz wants none of it, though. He's consistently just trying his best to get onto the Chaos Knights, who have now charged in to pin him in place. He's been hit by an overcast Plague of Rust, and he's going to have a hard time getting out of this one. Just as I say that, there's actually a nice little opening, and he is going to be able to get back up into the skies, but not before taking a decent amount of damage, and a ton of horsemen poking him in the rear, and it looks like that is indeed going to shatter him and finish him off. An excellent victory by Stormrunner there. up against Exploding Hamster, who I said before is a top competitor as well. Really good stuff by both of these players. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. We have new videos every single day, as well as a couple of streams every week. We are going to be streaming at the first half of my group stages from the Warhammer World Championship. That's what this game was from as well, but in a group that's not a part of mine. And it's the biggest ever tournament event. It's really exciting stuff, so I'm very excited to be bringing you guys more content for that in the future. That's probably going to be on Wednesday or Thursday. It simply depends on when I am available, because I do have to play some more games as well before the deadline on Friday. There are links down below in the description to my Discord, as well as Patreon and other links that you might find interesting to support the channel or get involved in a cool community and send me replays, get involved in tournaments, all that good stuff. And the links now finally work. Huzzah! For the forces of Exploding Hamster, Karl Franz was a one-man wrecking ball, but he couldn't quite get into the right situations at the right times, and that was a big problem for the Empire there. 6,000 damage dealt sounds like a lot, but only 1.2k damage value for a rather expensive beastie means he did struggle. A lot of his healing that he would normally get had to be sacrificed into the Royal Outdoor Griffith, so still did pretty decent damage value and good damage dealt. 1.4k damage value here, over 8,500 damage dealt, but they're very expensive, so they certainly need to kind of make that type of money just in an attempt to try to pay for themselves. The Jade Wizard did do some good healing, managed to keep these guys in the game after a really nasty initial engagement they found themselves in. That Overcast Plague of Rust, chosen with Halberds as well as Chaos Knights, is pretty scary. Spearmen as well, of course, just there to die. But I really like this build from Exploding Hamster. It's really experimental and quite cool. The mixture of Pistoliers and Outrights did a relatively decent job, particularly this one, and the grenade launchers as well. Fantastic damage value. 700 on this one, still a little bit to give, but the unit, which was pretty much full health at the end, where the rest of the troops broke, had over 1,000 damage value. Very nice stuff. As I said before, Exploding Hamster, really top content creator. If you do speak German, because his content is in German, definitely go check him out. He has some awesome builds and is a really nice dude as well. I've faced him a few times, and I think I fared a lot worse than Stormrunner, who did a very good job. You can see his army did take a bit of a beating. It was a Pyrrhic victory, but at the end of the day, both Empire Knights were still alive and active. 1.6k damage value on this one and 6,666 damage dealt with 66 kills. I'm sure the Chaos Gods will be very happy about that. The other units as well, nearly 2k damage value, nearly 9,000 damage dealt. Very impressive performance from the Knights. And the Chosen with Halberds didn't get an insane amount of damage value, not an insane amount of damage dealt, but they're basically full health at the end, which goes to show you, you know, he still had a lot of kind of bang for his buck left Stormrunner in the end games, with Sigvald being so healthy as well, over 6k damage dealt and over 2,200 damage value. The Chaos Sorcerer Male, of course, isn't going to get the craziest stats down here because it was mainly Plague of Rust that he was brought in for, and he did that rather well. Marauders and Forsaken as well. Actually, the Marauders been completely outshined. Forsaken coming in with over 1,000 damage value on one and nearly 1,000 on the second. Good work from a elite build all round by Stormrunner, but despite they had a few cheap troops as well, the basic Marauders with Throne Axes, who did relatively well, as well as these Poison Warhounds, managed to pin in Exploding Hamster on the left-hand side because he wanted to avoid the fight on the mountain, knowing he wasn't going to be able to take it and hold it because he doesn't have infantry, wanting to sneak around that right side, but it pinned him right in the corner, and because of that, he did eventually get cut down. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.